Hello, my name is Rowan Oberman. I'm an assistant professor at the DCU Institute of Education and director of the Centre for Human Rights and Citizenship Education. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the first Earth Day. I'd like to start by asking you to think about your experience of climate change education. What did you learn about climate change in school? For me, I learned about the greenhouse effect. It was one or two lessons in science and geography. As far as I can remember, it was sandwiched between a lesson on the ozone layer and a lesson on acid rain. For over 30 years, we've been aware of the devastation that climate change can cause, yet it's only recently that we've been researching and developing in any systematic way an educational response to climate change. Education is seen as playing an important role in the transition to sustainability. For example, the UN Sustainable Development Goals suggest that education should be key in reducing climate change and in promoting sustainable development. Education is seen as an underutilised sector in terms of mitigating against and adapting to climate change. Climate change education at the moment tends to focus on awareness and understanding of key processes, geographical processes like the greenhouse effect and the carbon cycle. Much like my experience of climate change education in school, it tends to be in the areas of science and geography, and this is both at a national level and internationally. It tends to be information orientated. Climate change education is seen as contributing to changes in behaviour and supporting action in relation to climate change. So it's seen as having a role beyond just giving information. In fact, research indicates that increased knowledge doesn't lead to increased action on environmental problems. So if we want education to have a role in changing behaviour and in promoting action, then it needs to be more than about providing information in the area. Education's role might be more than providing information and more also than promoting action, and that it might too have a role in facilitating participation in decision making. Article 12 of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which Ireland, along with nearly every country in the world, have signed up to, gives children the right to a say in decisions which affect them. So perhaps education can also be a site for dialogue, enabling children and young people to be part and take part in the decision-making process. RTE's Youth Assembly on Climate Change, which brought together young people from all across Ireland, came up with 10 recommendations, and one of these was that there should be mandatory sustainability education. Most researchers and practitioners in this area suggest that it needs to be both cross-curricular and systemic. So in relation to climate change education being cross-curricular, clearly geography and science are key subject areas within which climate change is and needs to be explored, and disciplinary knowledge here is crucial. However, as climate change touches every aspect of our lives, this is better reflected by it being addressed across the curriculum to enable more meaningful and more proportionate engagement. But not only does climate change need to be cross-curricular, it also needs, as I say, to be systemic. And what this means is that we need to be looking at systems, at connections and at relationships rather than isolated processes. Climate change presents an existential crisis. So it's not surprising that teachers and parents are worried that exploring climate change in school can lead to eco-anxiety and eco-despair. In fact, I would suggest that the emotions related to climate change are much more than anxiety and despair, and that they might include things like anger, guilt, frustration, defensiveness, and many other emotions. Education then might play a role in supporting learners in responding to the quite dramatic images they're being confronted with on television or on their social media platforms, images, for example, of the bushfires or plastic oceans or migration tragedies. But also, I think climate change should and can be hopeful and empowering. Climate change requires urgent change, and this presents an opportunity for doing things better, both in terms of planetary and in terms of human health, supporting learners in reflecting on aspects of their lives and societies and how they might be transformed for the better, environmentally and socially, can be creative, collaborative, and emotionally constructive form of learning. Thank you for watching. This video is part of a series of expert reflections curated by Future Earth Ireland as part of Future Earth Week. To watch other videos or to find out more about Future Earth Ireland, check out Future Earth Ireland on Twitter or go to the Future Earth Ireland website.